My wife cheated, secretly quit her job, blamed me for everything, and now when I rebuilt my life after our divorce, she's begging for a second chance? Hey Reddit. Emily and I met during college orientation. She was bubbly, smart, and full of energy. I was immediately drawn to her. We clicked almost instantly, bonding over our shared love of business and the future we wanted to build. After graduation, we both landed decent jobs in our respective fields. Life felt like a dream. Emily was working in marketing for a big firm, and I was building my career in finance. We got married a year after graduation, surrounded by friends and family who all said we were perfect for each other. The first few years of our marriage were great. We worked hard, saved up for a house, and even took a few vacations together. We didn't have kids yet. We wanted to wait until we felt more settled. Looking back, maybe that was a blessing in disguise. At the time, I thought we were a solid team. I had no reason to doubt her, no reason to think our marriage wasn't as perfect as it seemed on the outside. Things started to shift about 2 years before everything fell apart. Emily became distant. At first, I chalked it up to work stress. She had been complaining about her job more often, her boss was demanding, her coworkers were competitive, and deadlines were piling up. I tried to be supportive. I encouraged her to talk about her frustrations, offered advice when she wanted it, and even suggested she take some time off. But no matter what I said or did, she seemed to push me away. She started staying out late, claiming she was working overtime or meeting up with coworkers. Her phone was always glued to her hand, and she'd get defensive if I asked about it. I noticed her texting more often, sometimes laughing at messages she wouldn't share with me. When I brought it up, she accused me of being paranoid. She said I was overthinking things and needed to trust her. I wanted to believe her, so I let it go. About 6 months before the truth came out, we had one of the biggest fights of our marriage. Emily came home late again, and this time, she was drunk. I asked her where she had been, and she snapped at me, saying I was suffocating her with all my questions. She accused me of being too focused on work and not paying attention to her needs. I was blindsided. I thought I was doing everything I could to support her, but apparently, it wasn't enough. She stormed off to the bedroom, leaving me feeling confused and hurt. That night, I lay awake wondering where we had gone wrong. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that every marriage had its ups and downs. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. One day, I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. Emily wasn't expecting me, and when I walked through the door, I found her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. One day, I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. Emily wasn't expecting me, and when I walked through the door, I found her sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She jumped up as soon as she saw me and quickly put her phone down. Her reaction set off alarm bells in my head. Something wasn't right. Later that evening, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the counter. I don't know what came over me, but I picked it up. What I found shattered me. There were texts from someone named Ryan. They weren't just friendly messages. He was calling her baby, talking about how much he missed her, and even referencing specific times they had been together. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. This was the woman I had built my life with, the person I trusted more than anyone else, and she was betraying me. When she came out of the shower, I confronted her. She didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she blamed me. She said she felt neglected, that I was too busy with work, and that Ryan made her feel wanted. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she justify cheating on me by blaming me for it? As if the cheating wasn't enough, I found out a few weeks later that Emily had quit her job months ago. She had been lying to me every day, pretending to go to work while she was actually spending her time elsewhere, probably with Ryan. I only discovered this because her old boss called me, asking if everything was okay. He mentioned that she had left abruptly and never gave a reason. When I confronted her about this, she admitted it but, again, turned it around on me. She said she couldn't handle the stress anymore and that I should have noticed how unhappy she was. It was like she was living in an alternate reality where everything was my fault. I couldn't take it anymore. I filed for divorce. Emily didn't fight me on it, but she made the process as painful as possible. She dragged her feet on signing documents, refused to cooperate with dividing assets, and even spread rumors about me to our mutual friends, claiming I was abusive and controlling. By the time the divorce was finalized, I was emotionally and mentally drained. I had lost not only my wife but also some of the friends I thought would stand by me. The first few months after the divorce were the hardest. I felt like a failure, like I wasn't good enough. I kept replaying every argument, every red flag I had ignored, wondering if I could have done something differently. But eventually, I realized that her actions weren't my fault. She made the choice to cheat. She made the choice to lie. No amount of support or love from me could have changed that. I threw myself into work, picked up new hobbies, and started going to therapy. Therapy was a game changer. My therapist helped me unpack all the guilt and self-doubt I was carrying and reminded me that I deserved better. Over time, I started to heal. I even began dating again. I met someone incredible, a woman who is honest, kind, and supportive in ways Emily never was. We've been together for over a year now, and I'm genuinely happy. A few weeks ago, Emily reached out to me. She sent me a long email apologizing for everything she had done. She said she had made a huge mistake, that she realized what she had lost, and that she wanted a second chance. She claimed she had changed, that she was going to therapy, and that she wanted to make things right. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of the love I once had for her. But then I remembered everything she had put me through, the lies, the betrayal, the pain, and I knew I couldn't go back. I responded politely but firmly, telling her that I had moved on and wished her the best. She didn't take it well. She accused me of being selfish, of throwing away a chance at happiness. But I don't feel guilty. I gave her everything when we were married, and she threw it away. If there's one thing I've learned from this experience, it's that people show you who they truly are through their actions, not their words. Emily's apology might be sincere, but it doesn't erase the damage she caused. I'm grateful for the life I have now, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me. Thanks for reading. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone, and it does get better. Update. Hey everyone, I really didn't expect this many responses when I first posted my story. I've read through most of the comments, and while I can't respond to all of them, I truly appreciate the advice, support, and even the criticism. It's been a roller coaster, and I've learned a lot from everyone's insights. I wanted to give you all an update because things have taken a turn I wasn't ready for. So after I told Emily that I was done, that I didn't want to give her a second chance, I thought it would be over. I honestly believed she would accept it and move on, especially since she had made her choice, and I had made mine. But I was wrong. The first week after my response was relatively quiet. I didn't hear anything from her, and for a brief moment, I felt relief. But then, she started emailing me. It wasn't just one or two emails, it was daily. Each one seemed more desperate than the last. At first, I ignored them, thinking that if I didn't respond, she'd eventually get the message. But that didn't happen. She apologized in every email, reiterating how sorry she was for everything: cheating, quitting her job, all the lies. She kept saying she'd been in a dark place when we were married and that she couldn't fully realize how much she had hurt me until now. It was like reading the same script over and over, just with slightly different wording. I think she was hoping that one of her messages would hit the right chord and I'd suddenly want to reconcile. She even tried to guilt trip me by saying things like, "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, but can't we at least talk?" She mentioned how lonely she felt, how all her friends were telling her she needed to fix things with me because she had made such a huge mistake. She even said she had been seeing a therapist who helped her realize just how toxic her actions had been. Then, a few days ago, I got an email from one of our mutual friends. This friend told me that Emily had reached out to her and was trying to convince her to talk to me on her behalf. She was telling this friend how much she regretted everything and how she was determined to get me back. This friend didn't know how to handle it, so she decided to tell me. I was honestly just exhausted. I didn't want to deal with Emily's attempts at manipulation. I know that sounds harsh, but I was done. I wasn't going to put myself through the emotional roller coaster again. I've worked so hard to get my life back on track, and I wasn't about to let her come back into the picture and tear it all down. Another update. Alright, so I'm still processing everything that happened, and I feel like I need to share it with you all because I honestly can't believe what Emily did. A few nights ago, I was at home, having a quiet evening after work. My girlfriend and I were watching a movie when suddenly, there was a knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, and when I opened it, there was Emily standing on my doorstep. She looked disheveled, like she had been crying for hours. Her eyes were red, and she was holding a folder in her hands. I was completely shocked. I asked her what she was doing here, and she immediately launched into this long, emotional speech about how much she had changed and how she couldn't live with the guilt of what she had done. She said she wanted to prove to me that she had learned from her mistakes. She opened the folder and showed me her therapy notes, claiming that she had been working on herself, understanding what went wrong in our marriage, and how she was trying to become a better person. She asked for a second chance, said she was willing to do whatever it took to make it right. I was stunned. I told her that I had moved on, that we were divorced for a reason, and that I wasn't interested in hearing any more of this. She didn't take that well. She just kept talking, telling me how she missed me and how she regretted everything. She even said, "We're soulmates. Don't you remember the good times we had?" To be honest, that just made everything worse. I'm not sure if she was trying to make me feel nostalgic or if she honestly believed that I would just forget everything and take her back. I was shaking with frustration. I told her to leave, that I wasn't going to entertain this anymore. But she didn't leave. She started crying and begging me to listen, saying that I was being cruel. She said I was being unfair and not giving her a chance to explain herself. That's when I snapped. I told her again to leave or I would call the police. That's when she finally turned and walked away, but not without one last attempt. She shouted back at me, saying that I would regret this. She said she couldn't believe I was throwing everything away when we could still be happy together. It left me feeling numb. I didn't know if I should be angry, sad, or just relieved that it was finally over. I don't hate her. I don't wish anything bad for her, but at that moment, I felt like she was trying to rewrite history. I felt like she thought I was just going to let her back in because of a few tears and a folder of therapy notes. I called my girlfriend after that, and she was incredibly supportive. She told me she was glad I stood my ground, but I could tell she was worried that Emily might try something more drastic. She even offered to be there next time in case Emily showed up again. I don't know what would have happened if my girlfriend wasn't there, but it's comforting to know I have her in my corner. Final update. So, here's the final update, and honestly, it's one I didn't think I'd ever have to post. After everything that happened, after Emily showed up at my door, I realized that I couldn't just keep hoping she'd give up and move on. She wasn't respecting my boundaries, and I knew I had to take stronger action to put an end to this once and for all. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on this, talking to my girlfriend, and even consulting with a lawyer. The lawyer said it was important to formally document that I didn't want any further contact with Emily, especially since she had already crossed a line by showing up at my home unannounced. So, I had a cease and desist letter drafted. The lawyer explained that this would make it clear to Emily that her attempts to contact me were not only unwanted but also legally problematic. We sent the letter a few days ago, and I had it delivered to her home address. Honestly, I never thought it would come to this. I never thought I'd have to take legal action just to get some peace of mind. But it's been the right decision. Since the letter was sent, I haven't heard a word from her. No emails, no phone calls, no surprise visits. It's been a few days now, and I'm cautiously optimistic that she's finally gotten the message. To be completely honest, I feel a sense of relief. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I've worked so hard to get to this point, to rebuild my life after everything Emily put me through. I'm not going to let her or her manipulative behavior drag me back into that toxic situation. As for me and my girlfriend, we're doing great. In fact, we've been talking more seriously about moving in together, and I couldn't be happier. She's been so supportive throughout all of this, and I can't imagine going through any of it without her. Thank you again to everyone who reached out and offered advice, encouragement, or even just shared your own experiences. It's been incredibly helpful to know I'm not alone in this. If you're in a similar situation, please take care of yourself. You deserve happiness, peace, and respect. This is my final update. Onward and upward, as they say. Stay strong, everyone.